Hello, everybody. I'm just setting some stuff up, and we will get toward to doing the stream. So, hi. Gosh, hair, guys. Hair. I guess there's too much hair. What is this to do with this? I don't know. Okay. So it is just Sam here from ThermoCosplay at the moment. We may have one more person joining us today. We've got people traveling and working and doing stuff again today. So, hi, Lonnie. Thank you for joining. It's good to see you. Yeah, it's Cos Talk Live. And like I said, there may be one or two more people joining me, but if not, it's just going to be little old me today. So let's see here. I was pulling something up because we're going to be talking about running panels at conventions, since conventions are returning, and they're returning in with a lot of gusto. So there's a lot to talk about with conventions, especially with how some of the panels have changed and some of the rules have changed for different places. So we'll talk about what we know for like California, Arizona, Pacific Northwest events that we've been to, and then kind of talk about some things that we're planning on doing this year and seeing if that all works out. So give me one moment. I am just trying to find, I had some examples of panels. So hi Jocelyn, hi Cool Gamer. Happy to see you guys today. Hello. Hello, Phantom of Many Topics. I have heard about Anime Arizona. I'm not sure if I'm going yet, just because May is going to be kind of busy for me with plans that may be happening on Fan Fusion that I can't quite talk about yet. And hi, Robert. Yes, panels are a lot of fun. So we wanted to give you guys some resources so that if you're interested in doing panels in the future, you can. And, how to do it, how to submit, what to look at, especially with conventions starting to gear up in the Southwest right now. Well, I can kind of start actually, and I can show you some examples of panels later on. If you guys want to see what it looks like to present a panel, I can absolutely do that. But one of the big things, introduction, sorry. Hi, my name is Sam. I'm from ThermoCosplay. I've been cosplaying since 2014. And today I am Vi from the Arcane League of Legends Netflix show. So yeah, this is my first time wearing this. So I have a few kinks to work out. But for panels, so that's today's topic again. The biggest thing you're going to want to focus on right now is looking to see when submissions are allowed. For instance, if you are going to Phoenix Fan Fusion in May, they do have panels submissions open, and you need to get in there fast because from what I understand, they're going to start finalizing in the next month. Phantom of Many Topics from YouTube mentioned Anime Arizona. I actually went onto their website recently and I could not find a panel submission area. When you go to a website for a convention, you can't find a panel submission area, but they said that they're accepting submissions or they want panels. That's where you need to go to their contact form and submit something to them. So I'm awaiting a response. I only did that a couple of days ago, and I'm sure that they're busy. And so I'm hoping to get a response back for them because I would really like to, submit to Anime Arizona if I can make it to that event. I'm still figuring stuff out there. But there's also, let's see here. So I mentioned Phoenix Fan Fusion for submissions. Their submissions different. So do you guys want me to pull up these websites and kind of show you the different ways of submitting panels so that you know what panel submissions look like? And then I can walk you through the general process of what goes on after submission, or do you want me just to talk about what the submission pages are? Tell me, and then I will pull up or do whatever I need to do. Okay, hello, Cosplay Choco. Cosplay Choco too. Okay, so what I'll do is I'm gonna pull up some of these. My hair is just gonna go wherever it wants to go today. It's fine. It's gonna be in my nose, it's gonna be everywhere. It's fine. All right, so I'll pull up Phoenix Fan Fusion, show that as an example. I'll also pull up Anime Arizona so I can show you that there isn't a submission page and kind of what I did there for that one. And then I'll also show you another one. Oops, close this one out. Here we go. Sorry, I'm just trying to scroll down to some of these places, their websites are like tucked in the weirdest place possible. There we go. And then the last one I'm going to touch on is Anime Next, which is a East Coast convention that I'll be going to this year. First time ever going there. So, all right, I've got these open. I'm going to start sharing the screens. So I'll share the more local one first. So Cosplay Choco on YouTube asks, how do you organize your stuff like in a Google Doc and copy and paste your panel into info forms? Yeah, so I'm going to go through and talk about that. So we'll start with submissions, and then I'll go through, and once I've located a submission page, I will tell you how I organize my panel information and what information you really would want to organize in order to prepare for a submission, and then also then after submission to prepare to present to the audience. So let me share my screen real fast. No, I'm not sharing slides. I'm sharing screen, you crazy little thing. Okay, there we go. So let's do FanFusion as an example. So this is the main page for Phoenix FanFusion. And when you go to it, you're going to see, you scroll through here, you'll see programming. So you'll want to click on programming. And in here, it's going to be a lot of information, right? So you're going to see programming schedule. You can go to that. And they actually already, it looks like they already have some of their stuff up, the program schedule, which is pretty awesome. So you can see a lot of the information that they're already collecting for this year. But usually what happens is when you come down into here and you want to submit a panel, there's typically information in here about this. I wonder if they've already closed it. I'm going to scroll back up and go into applications, because sometimes, there we go, it's under applications. So if you can't find it under programming, look for something like applications or submissions, and it'll be in there. So here is the panelist and presenter application. And this is what it looks like. Can you guys see this? Yes. Nope, you can't. Hang on. Let me open the screen that you can show. You can't see it. Oops. It's on a different tab. When it moved to the new tab, I was like, uh-oh. You guys can't see what I'm trying to show you. Here we go. Okay. So this is the panelist application form. So for Phoenix FanFusion, they're a little bit different, where you have to submit your information. It needs to be your legal information, your email address, and then you can actually later on ask for them to use a different name if you don't want your legal name on their website. So that's where they ask about group name, and that's where you would put, your separate name, and then you'll determine whether or not you've presented at other conventions and kind of go through everything, say what you're willing to speak on. They ask about your speaking experience, contact info, and then they want to see examples of what you've worked on. So this is different. With FanFusion, you submit to become a panelist, and then one of two things will happen. You can send them a list of things that you're willing to present on, or they will send you a list and say, hey, this is what we want at our convention. Can you participate in either one of these, or can you create one of these? So they're a little bit different, whereas they kind of mock hire panelists, and then they create a panelist pool that they can then rely on in the future. And as they need more, they keep accepting these applications and creating a larger pool of panelists. For other conventions, it's a little bit different. Other conventions, you're not only submitting as a panelist, but you're also submitting like the documentation at the same time. So Phoenix FanFusion just wants to know about you. But for places like, I'll use Anime Next as an example. I'm going to share the screen for this one. For Anime Next as an example, I believe, I think it's under, yeah, here we go. There we go. Programming, panels, and click on that. And then, oh no, I got to find it. I know, I just can't remember, guys. Oh, wait, it's right there. I just went right past it. So right at the top here is a panels application area. I'm going to make sure you guys can see that. Yes, you can. And this is what most conventions do, where you click on a panels application area. We'll see if it opens the same tab. It does. And this is where you enter your panel name. So you're not applying as a job to the convention, where FanFusion is kind of treating it like a barter position, where you're essentially a panelist, and over the years, they ask you to present certain topics. Most conventions are like Anime Next, where they don't really care, who you are as a panelist, as long as you're pretty good. And some of them may still ask for examples. They want to know what your topic is that you're presenting on. So they're going to ask for your panel name. They'll ask for documentation, slides, or PDFs, something showing that you already have the information prepared. So I will in a moment here open up my Google Drive and show you how I kind of organize my panels. And then they're going to want descriptions, runtimes. Runtimes are really important for panels at conventions. I advise that you sit in your home and present your panel, have pauses in between, act like you're actually talking to an audience and see how long it goes. Understand that when you're talking alone, you will go a little bit faster. But when you are talking with people, it is going to slow down. So say it takes you 25 minutes to present a panel randomly to yourself at home to go over all the information, then it's probably add another 20 minutes. It's probably a 45-minute panel. And then you could leave room for questions afterwards, right? Or you could just add a little bit more and have it 30 minutes and 30 minutes. So I always say that if you can run through it nonstop in 30 minutes, then it's probably going to be an hour-long panel once you get to an event, because you'll need to slow down and let people really assess what's going on and stop for questions, or let your fellow panelists who are presenting with you, your co-hosts, discuss their experiences as well. So let me see. So here's the application. This is what the standard looks like. You'll need to, select your type, whether it's a presentation, an instructional audience, workshop. We'll go over the different types of panels after I've kind of, actually we can do it right now since it's right here. It's fine. So presentation is just that. You are talking to the person. You are just giving them information. It's strictly informational. It's just, this is my experience, right? It's kind of anecdotal. And instructional is you are teaching people. So you need to essentially treat it like it is, a classroom, and you need to have all of the information, maybe some handouts. You need to pause, let people ask questions, show them. Sometimes the instructional is hands-on. Sometimes it's just presenting videos similar to the anecdotal. But instructional is you are educating someone on something. Audience engagement is usually something where you're doing like speed dating, or you're having like, okay, we're going to do this contest and like guess that Pokemon. You bring 10 people up, and as they start failing to guess the Pokemon, it starts dwindling down until you have a winner. So it's going to be something where you have to bring audience members up to participate in your panel. And then finally, a workshop is typically something where you have materials and they are coming in and you are showing them how to use those materials, that product, or how to create that garment or that cosplay piece, or how to use different types of technology. So it's both instructional and hands-on. So presentation, we'll go right through it. Presentation, anecdotal, you're telling a story. Instructional, you're telling a story, but you're also educating at the same time. Audience engagement, it is a party. You're bringing people up and you're having fun. And then workshop is taking the presentation, the instructional, and the hands-on and putting it all together. I think that covered all of it for you guys. Every con also has content tracks, so make sure you select those correctly, and always make sure you determine whether or not it's going to be 18 plus content, because conventions can get in trouble for not, setting appropriate guidelines for their attendees. And then you'll have to enter your panelist names and whoever else is assisting you. So this is a typical panel application. You will notice that there are now, in most panel applications, COVID policies. If you read these and you disregard them, you can get kicked out and permanently banned or blacklisted from conventions. So make sure you always read their terms of service or any policies they have. A lot of the times what you may or may not know is in these forms, if you don't click this link, they can actually see that you didn't perform that action and that you checked the box without performing the action. So it could potentially ding you. So make sure you read all content and all material that they provide you for you, and it will give you a better chance of actually being a panelist at that event. Any questions? Because I just went through a buttload of information before I start going on to what happens after you've submitted a panel. I'm gonna go to my drive like I promised and pull up my slides. Where are my slides? Where are you guys? There you are. Okay. I think one thing I will note is that most of these panel applications, you need to give yourself at least, I'd say, 20 to 30 minutes time to fill them out. So don't assume that it's going to go fast. Assume that it will take you a little bit to fill it out, and then it will take you some time to provide the documentation that they're looking for. That's what I like to do when I'm submitting panels, is actually preemptively go take a look at the submission form and then put my materials together and submit once I have it all ready. So that way I don't have to keep going, oh, I got to go back and get this, and I got to go back and get this, because a lot of those forms you can't save and return to later. So you don't want to do it more than once. All right, so I'm going to pull up Cosplay Choco on YouTube asked how I organize my stuff. So I'll show you some examples of how I organize my stuff after I've submitted a panel. Well, prior to submitting a panel, I do, prepare kind of like a brief draft. But after I've submitted the panel and been accepted, I go through and I create special Google Slides in my Google Drive. You can use a Google Doc, but I found that slides are really easy to organize things in. So what I like to do is it's kind of, you can also download this as a PDF to a mobile device. So if for some reason the convention you're going to doesn't have very good cellular service, or they don't have Wi-Fi that you can use so you can present on, you can download this in a very small file onto any kind of device, and it's super useful. But this is how I organize everything. I've got all of my slides. A lot of the times I have speaker notes. I've done this panel so many times that I no longer need notes. But the great thing about Google Slides, and the reason I prefer to use it, is you can come in here and you can choose whether or not you want to pull images from the internet, or if you want to import them from your machine. You've got the ability to copy, paste, rotate. Basically, it is the same exact version of it's just like PowerPoint, right? And you have the speaker notes section. It has all of the same tools. It is incredibly useful. So I always recommend using Google Slides if you're trying to create content, even if you don't end up using the slide. Like if you don't give a presentation, a visual presentation at a convention, having this on your phone as sort of a guided reference is super useful. Oh, hey, we got a friend joining. Hang on, guys. Hi, Ambrose.
Hi.
I sort of told Ambrose a little bit late. So.
Little bit. Sorry.
I had some problems with my makeup. I had to take my tattoo off and then put it back on.
Oh no. Don't you hate when your tattoos come off, you guys?
Yeah. The one on my neck did fine, but yeah. So.
Well, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm I need my glasses to see
that's okay. So we're talking about panels and how to prepare documents. And Cosplay Choco asked, how do you organize your stuff for a panel? Do you use Google Docs? Do you use past panel forms? So I'm kind of going through what I do, and then we can talk about what you do for panels.
I'm gonna do pretty much the same thing that you probably do, which is like a slideshow kind of a deal.
The Google Slides are just, and like I was telling people, even if you don't end up using the Google Slides, it's like a good reference. It has all your notes, all your images, everything you want to do. It's kind of like a visual outline, and it's very useful.
Well, and I like that for, your audience is going to have all different kinds of learners. Not everybody has that, the auditory. So visual can be helpful, even if you just have a few visual aids. Even if it's not pictures, just words, some people prefer to kind of read along with what you're talking about. And that's a little more inclusive of people from the deaf community who like to come to cons. Mm-hmm. They have a visual guide, almost like a script to follow along with, which is really nice.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I organize mine. I know Cosplay Choco also asked, do you submit the same description for similar or the same panel to different cons? Yes, I typically do keep my description the same. And I do try different titles. I have found that some conventions, certain titles do better. So I am a little bit particular about what titles I use at what conventions. That sounds weird, but it's true. I have to change my titles for some conventions. But the description typically does stay the same. The only time I change it is if, for instance, we're Cos Talk Live and we're going to be streaming. We were streaming at Emerald City. Well, now we're going to be streaming live from Phoenix or from Anime Arizona. I would want to change to the convention's name.
Just imagining submitting to Phoenix, live from Emerald City Comic-Con. They're just
right. So I make sure that I change that and I make sure that that's updated. Otherwise, pretty much use the same descriptions. However, I do change my content every time. So I showed an example of the special effects makeup panel that I do at most conventions. And I actually go in there and I tend to change the images. There's some images that I keep just because I don't really have any other examples that I'm proud of just yet. I am working on other things, so I will be able to change some of those out here in the future. But I do rotate a lot of those pictures out, especially as I have different panelists, right? So we don't always have the same group of people presenting with us every time.
Right.
So like
That's
it would be
something I
weird.
appreciate about Sam's panels, especially because I've done a few of, I've been a panelist with Sam before, and we've done like a couple of the same panels, but she does like change out the content of it, which is really cool. It keeps it fresh and new and like relevant to what we're talking about or who's on the panel.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is you always want to, like, for instance, if a certain material was really like the anti-fatigue floor mats were super, super, super popular in the beginning of cosplay because it was really the only foam that was easy to get. Well, now EVA foam's everywhere and HD foam is everywhere and it's almost the same exact price. So I've gone in there and tend to remove and don't talk about anti-fatigue floor mats anymore just because they are a heck of a lot more difficult to work with.
You do
And with
gotta
how
keep up with
accessible
the
foam
times.
is now.
I mean, it's good to stay like modern relevant with new techniques and like what we know now. Like I know just, because these panels are kind of almost like in a way, like a sort of not free because you paid for your con pass, but like a community education without having to like take a course or like having to pay for like, whatever to go see a speaker. But you have like all of these available to go educate yourself with whatever you're interested in at that particular convention, which is really cool. I know my husband, when he started his first master's program in like software development at ASU, some of these professors were like legit like teaching technology from like the early 2000s. Like they had never updated the curriculum. And it's like, at a con, it feels a little different. You're not really paying per panel, but you still paid for like the pass to get in. So it's like you should expect like a level of quality and like the content to be updated at the very least.
Yeah,
To
no,
reflect the
I agree with
curriculum
you.
now.
That completely agree. And that's a big thing for me, is making sure that the content's updated and relevant. So even if you're presenting the same panel at multiple conventions, at least go in there, make some updates, make some changes. Like for instance, with the special effects panel, you can use foam clay now for special effects. You can make masks out of foam clay and it makes it so much easier to attach to things. Like all you really need is a good face cast that matches your size face and you're good. You can literally use foam clay. And I mean, some people are like, whoa, wait a minute. That's so much easier. Like, yeah, it is. It is easier than casting into a mold and having to do all this custom sculpting. So that is definitely one thing we started adding in, is like, hey, by the way, you can use foam clay too. So
Well, and
making
you as
sure
a
that,
maker are going to improve as well.
yeah,
So like, you're going to want to update like the pictures of your own stuff of like, okay, these are my new and improved like cosplays that I've done. These are my new and improved tips and tricks that I've learned, so on and so forth. You don't want to keep the same stale content every time.
no, that would be boring.
Yeah.
So yeah, you definitely want to update it. Some of the things you also want to consider are making sure that you make your panel accessible to individuals who may not be able to hear, or need some sort of, like we mentioned, visual reference or audio reference. So when we're talking, if like I've actually had individuals who are blind in my panels before, and they'll be like, so quick question, what does that look like? And I will give a visual descriptor. Like I'll pause for a moment and describe it to them, right? Because that's just polite and it's good, but be prepared for that. Be prepared to accommodate individuals who may be coming into your panel that can't see or hear everything you're presenting. So you'll need to come up with different options. That's why on a lot of my presentations, I always have, so let me share this again, but on a lot of my presentations, I usually have some kind of written text. And that's just to give them an idea of like, what I'm going to be talking about, what everything's. So yeah, I am verbally saying this, but there might be individuals in the room that need that. And so this is, okay, so this makeup is using powders and tights, and these are examples of cream and grease. So it's just making sure that they have just as much access to what I'm presenting as anybody else who's entered that room.
Absolutely, yeah. The accessibility, especially like image descriptions on social media now, are getting more popular, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And it's not just for panels; you can kind of incorporate it just into your regular social media.
Yep. So that's one thing that's going to be super important. yeah, if you guys have any questions, please let us know too. Another thing you're going to want to consider. So for instance, I have a Steven Universe panel that I love to do. But the thing with Steven Universe is it is a massive presentation. And typically I cannot open it in Google. So now I can put it into my Google Drive, but I cannot open it. I have to pre-download it. So make sure when you have panels that have videos, do one of two things. Either confirm whether or not you'll have cellular or Wi-Fi data at the convention. So then you can just put links in the PowerPoint and click on it and have it go to wherever it is you need to go. Or what I typically do, I download the video and then I put it directly into the PowerPoint and I download that to my cell phone or my laptop, because I know that there are a lot of times where cellular data is just simply overwhelmed at a convention. So you just don't have the connectivity you need for videos, and the bandwidth isn't there. So always have a backup of media.
Like a thing that I think about often, like as a teacher, that's just like a part of my day job, is you never know when the internet's going to go out, because the internet in public school is terrible, just notoriously. So like I always have like my stuff pre-downloaded, so I don't have to depend on the internet for like video content or picture content or whatever it is. So it's almost like you do have to kind of think of those things that you might need, like in case of emergency. And I would like also recommend running through, once you have your presentation set up, rehearsing it a couple of times to see how long does it actually take to get through this. Are you going to run out of time? Are you going to have time for questions? So on and so forth. Just reading through it as if you would actually be talking to your audience.
Yep. And that also gets all the jitters out, and it also helps you find words that you think sound great in your head, and then you say them out loud and you're like, no, that's just not going to work for me. So we've kind of talked a lot about we both actually talked a lot about stuff. We're almost 30 minutes in. I don't know how, but anyways, what? So we've talked about like submitting and using documentation. We've kind of gone over like the materials, the resources you'll want to have access to. Assume that you're going to go into the convention and they're going to have old PowerPoints or old adapters. So think about ways to adapt to VGA, to HDMI, from USB-C, because most new laptops and devices are USB-C to some kind of other media device. So consider those. Consider that you may need to bring adapters with you, or contact the convention in advance and ask if they have adapters or if they have laptops that you could use as a loaner and plug in information to.
I would say, like, if you're planning on being doing panels quite often, having your own equipment, like adapters and such, is probably a good investment.
Yeah.
Because even when you call ahead and say, hey, do you guys have this? That doesn't necessarily mean it'll be available. Doesn't mean they'll be able to find it. I've been in that situation before where they were like, oh yeah, definitely. Like, we have this. And then they're like, oh, we can't find it anywhere. So it's like, okay, well,
I've actually started. I have a panelist that presents with me really regularly, and I'm going to start. We're going to start bringing our own. No phone. I'm not talking to you. Shush your mouth. We're going to start bringing our own mini projector, because conventions are kind of in the process of a technology update, and it's easier for us to Bluetooth to a little mini projector. So just think about the technology woes that you may encounter as well. And if you can't afford that, that's fine. Like I said, bring some adapters, and then also contact the convention in advance and make them put your name on it. Because I've done that before. I'm like, okay, well then that's my projector. Please, like, literally put my name on it. Like, I'm going to use it. So like I've done that. So yeah, just make sure you do some like Cosplay Choco said, make sure they do a hold ID or something. They do actually off and on, if you borrow something, will ask for like your driver's license and stuff, so that you don't walk away with their tech.
Those Epson projectors from 2005 are
I really want to take that with me.
They're quite valuable, you guys.
It's mostly HDMI. A lot of the times when they give you an HDMI cord, they're going to ask for like an ID of some kind, because HDMI cords do walk away. So, but yeah, technology is something you'll definitely want to consider. And Also think about if you're traveling, think about the space you're presenting in. Is this going to be a large room or a small room? Some rooms do not have microphones, so practice projecting or bring someone as a panelist that's with you that can project for you.
Right.
Don't assume that they're going
The
to have
one,
everything there.
the like kind of amphitheater-ish one that we always present in at Sabo, that one always throws me for a loop. We never have a microphone. Not that, part of my like job is projecting my voice, so that's not that's not something that like I have a problem with. But I feel like anytime I get in there, I'm like, oh, there's no mics. Like that's happened every
It's
single time
weird.
that happens, because I'm like,
Yeah.
this room is enormous. This is like an
Yeah.
auditorium, and there's no microphones. Like there ought to be,
Yeah, it's always so weird when they don't have anything. So just again, assume it's not going to be there and plan for it not to be there and have alternative modes of presenting your content.
Right.
There are some cons where I do actually print little pamphlets because I expect something to go wrong now. So
And I think it like also depends on like your personality too. I know some people are completely comfortable with just like, let's say everything goes wrong, you can't get your projector working, your presentation up, whatever. And I know some people can just literally like improv the whole thing with no script and talk to everyone and make it great. And if that's the type of person that you are, that is wonderful. Like, good for you. Nice job. But I find personally that having rehearsed and feeling as prepared as possible is what makes me feel confident in like presentations like this. So like having prepared for every possible contingency, that definitely helps boost my confidence when talking to an audience.
yeah,
And maybe you don't need that sort of a thing, but I find that preparedness is extremely helpful.
it is very helpful, and it just kind of helps ease, your mind too when you're all good. So I'm like, it's trying to find. I think maybe it was this one that has. Trying to find the one where like I know I have some video of one of the panels we did. I just don't know where to find it. Oh, I think I'm on. I need to go to our channel. There we go. Here we go. So a little while ago, we actually streamed live from Emerald City Comic Con, and I'm just gonna. It's muted. Dismiss this, but I'm gonna share what the room looks like so you can kind of get an idea. So I'm gonna kind of jump forward because we actually have two cameras in here. Here we go. So you can see on the right side that there are the people in the rooms now, because it was still like COVID was still a serious problem and is still a serious issue in Seattle. The whole front row was empty and stayed empty, except for, I believe, one of our panelists' partners was on the very end. And then the whole second row, all but like 3 people were in it. So you're also going to have to account for, with the pandemic still being active, that you may not have as many people in your room, or you may not be allowed to have that many people in your room. There are a lot of restrictions being placed on the number of individuals permitted, and there are still a lot of like every other chair or every 2 chairs seating being used. So be prepared for, if you like, I'm when I go to Phoenix Fan Fusion, I'm used to having 200 to 400 people in a room. That might be a lot less this year. Same thing when I go to SakuraCon for the first time. I expect there could be fewer people there as well. So don't let that like dishearten you. You could have one person in that room, still present your panel like it's hundreds of people. Because I've done that before, where I literally had one person walk in. Actually, Apache Junction Library Con, I had one person walk in, and then more people ended up filtering in. But like there were just a few. It was a small con. There weren't a lot of people, and I literally just gave that panel like there were a bunch of people in that room. There weren't.
Well, and I think same with like sometimes people will be there at the start of your panel and then they'll leave partway through.
Yep.
And again, don't let that discourage you or affect your confidence in any way. You have no idea what people's plans are for the day. Maybe they were like, oh, I already know all this info, so we're gonna go to something else. Okay, that's fine, that's fair. Or maybe they're like, you know what, I really wanted to like see this panel, but I have to get to prejudging at 12:30. So I have to leave at 12:25. It's like you have no idea what the deal is, and it's nothing personal. Just keep going with your panel exactly as planned. Like don't let that affect you in any way.
Yeah, I agree. And that is actually another reason too. Okay, these little glove thingies are annoying me. I'm gonna take them off and put them on later. But that is like the wraps are like tickling me, and every time I type, it's just tickling me. But the that is why having more than one person in the panel room too is really important. Like, make sure you have supporting panelists, because when you have supporting panelists, you can talk to one another and get ideas until your room fills with people, right? So you don't have to be alone sitting there going, "Oh, this is fun. I'm by myself. Nobody's here. Nobody loves me." Blah 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 blah. Yeah, you would just have another panelist with you. Another reason you want to have another panelist with you is it's the same thing as reason why we have more than one host here at Cos Talk Live. You want to have different perspectives. Like, one person's voice over time can get boring, right? And so you want to have different perspectives and experiences. So I recommend at least having two people in your panel, one being you, one being a supporting member or a moderator, someone that can help you, especially in larger conventions where if you do have 400 or 500 people, you have someone to help control the audience, because
Right.
they can get rowdy.
Yeah. Oh, Cosplay Choco says, put your name on your laptop and charger, because I'd be losing mine with no evidence to get it back. That's kind of actually a joke in my school district, is if you bring in your own items, which a lot of people do, if you don't label it with your name, you'll come back and it'll have a barcode of our district on it. They'll be like, oh, this is ours now. So
Yeah.
that's a great tip, labeling the stuff that is absolutely yours. And then I feel like I comment way too much. No, you're doing great, sweetie. Please keep commenting. We're so proud
Yeah.
of you. We love
Totally
hearing
fine.
you. Yes. It's harder to hear questions through masks. We ask folks to stand up if they can when they have a question. Yeah, that's true. Like, you do have to project more through the mask. And I feel like as an audience member who's not the presenter, you probably don't think about that. So it can be hard to hear the questions in the mask. Yet another good reason to have a co-host, co-panelist, because you can actually have that person go out there and have them repeat the question,
Yep.
so that they can announce it to everybody louder.
Yeah, it's kind of like what we're doing here, where we've got people commenting in from Twitch and YouTube and Facebook, and we're saying, okay, so this person, like Jocelyn said, it's hard to hear people through masks. Okay, and Cosplay Choco said, hey, make sure to label stuff. So you'll want to repeat that in person as well. Not everybody can hear what that person said. Some people are quiet. Other people may be further back in the room, and that person was facing forward, and so they can't hear what they said. So repeating the question is very good too, and it helps engage the audience more.
Yes, I agree. And definitely leave time for questions if you can. Obviously, some panels run over, but having your audience kind of participate at the end like that is really nice. It's really collaborative. They probably bring up things that maybe like you hadn't thought of, that when you're teaching or presenting something, you think that you're being super clear, but the audience might just be like, like, I have no idea what foam clay is, never heard of it. No, I have no idea where to get it. Like, what's the tub that I'm looking for? Like, whatever, stuff like that. So you do want to leave time for questions, get your audience involved, as Robert says. Thank you.
Yeah, agreed. And thank you, Sam. Appreciate the comment telling us we're doing awesome. Thank you. So the another good thing to focus on when you're doing panels. So after you've submitted a panel and you've been approved, please note that most conventions will want to look at your content. And then also note that a lot of conventions will offer a moderator. So if for some reason you cannot get someone else to co-host with you, you can ask the convention to assign a moderator to you so that you have someone present in the room if you are unfamiliar or uncomfortable with controlling a crowd. And I say controlling a crowd. Most crowds are really good. A lot of the times what I mean by controlling a crowd is getting them to simmer down when they get really excited and making sure they only ask questions one at a time because they will get so excited about a topic that they'll just speak over one another, or they'll all jump up at once, raising their hands, saying they want to talk about it. And then sometimes you will get individuals in panels who you allow them to ask a question and then they'll go on a tangent, and you'll have to have someone in the group who's comfortable with interrupting them and saying, I really appreciate that you want to share your story, but we'll need to do that after the panel so that I can proceed with my content, because you were brought on to the convention to present certain information, and you cannot allow that person to hijack your panel. That will occasionally happen.
You will get people that will do that. Yes.
Yeah,
So
and it's usually not ill
that.
intent. They just get excited again. So
Right.
it's kind of curbing their excitement and letting them know, hey, I really want to hear this story, but I need to hear it after after we leave here. And I have actually had people wait the whole time and come back and tell me the story.
Like, you can literally just say, like, oh, like, we don't have time for like the full story right now. I would love to hear about this after the panel is done. Like, please come up to us after. We would love to talk to you about that. Like, you can absolutely kind of like deter them in a very polite way, you know.
Yeah. Now, we've kind of covered like content. Make sure again that you have set your content to the appropriate age group. If you do have something that comes, like say most of your content's PG and you only have like one picture that isn't, be like, okay, hey, parents, cover your kids' eyes.
And yes, like, you want to give a content warning if at all possible, even for things like I would say like blood and gore too. Like, if you were doing like special effects or something, you would want to do like a quick content warning. Just, you never know like what people are affected by. It doesn't hurt to give them a warning of something that a lot of people are freaked out by, right? That's a pretty common one.
Agreed. So
let's see. We've
Robert said that we found that.
Oh, okay, you got it. Sam,
okay. So we found that if you have someone that is not behind a table and on the floor, it helps with moderating the crowd. So
yeah, good point. It makes it a little more personal when you're like right up there in their business. I think you become a little more like human because it's like, you don't have the table barrier of like the us and the them. Like when you have one of the panelists like out kind of walking around the audience, they're like, they're breaking down boundaries. And let's see, Chibi Raincloud says, I'm assuming that's who Chibi is. I missed some of it, so I don't know if you've already answered this, but as someone who's done cons in different states, are there any major differences in running panels? I would say just con to con are huge differences.
So I would say I've presented in New Mexico, California, and Arizona, and the Southwest and West is pretty similar. There is a difference between anime and comic conventions. Comic conventions tend to do the thing that Phoenix does, where they ask you to apply as a panelist, and then they give you a list of things that they want. Whereas anime conventions is free form, go for it, submit whatever you want, and then they'll tell you what they're going to accept. But I have noticed, for instance, the Pacific Northwest, like I presented at Geek Girl Con, Emerald City Comic Con, and then now I'm going to be going into Sakura Con. The thing is with that is I have noticed a lot of the Pacific Northwest conventions are at the Washington State Convention Center, and they provide you with all the technology. They actually prefer that you use their technology because a lot of the time they're streaming live to an audience outside. So they like to be, they ask you if you're comfortable with like connecting to their technology so you can stream that way. Whereas with the Southwest, like Arizona and California, you need to bring your own tech. You need to bring your own adapters. You are lucky if you get any support whatsoever. Phoenix is pretty good about giving support when it's their technology that's failing, and they will try to give you support if it's a basic, like if it's a laptop or general function, but typically Phoenix will not support you with mobile devices. So you really need to know how to use them, and you need to make sure you've tested them in advance. If you're unsure as to whether or not your mobile device will work, what you can typically do is reach out to the panel support or director and ask if you can come in before panels start that day or in between a break and see if it works. So that way you have time to go get new media should it not. But the biggest difference for me really is like all the submissions tend to be the same. It's usually like a Google form or some kind of SurveyMonkey form or just some kind of like general web form. But the support is different. Pacific Northwest, you get a heck of a lot of support. They support the living crap out of you. Something goes wrong, they solve it for you. You usually don't have to go solve it yourself. Whereas California, California is way more hands-off than Arizona. Arizona is still pretty hands-on, but they are limited to what they can assist you with. California is just like, if it doesn't work, I guess you're going to speak about it verbally.
I'd say it kind of, like it does depend on the con runners. If, you're interested in presenting at a convention that you haven't presented at before, try and find, maybe their programming from last year, if you know any of those panelists, and talk to them about their experience with it. It's possible maybe everything went perfectly, which is a good sign, but like if they had any issues, like you can actually get like some firsthand account on, how did they handle it, how much support did they get, did they have the technology, so on and so forth. Because usually if you can find the program from a past year, that person's social media will likely be in the program. You can message them and ask about it, or hopefully you'll like personally know somebody who did a panel there, and that would be nice. And you could just ask your buddy.
Yep. Agreed. So you'll want to kind of, I would like Ambrose said, reach out to people or see if you can find recordings and see how presented that way. But that is kind of the difference I see is mostly a support difference and technology difference. But I will know more when I travel to the East Coast for my first con this year. So
that's so exciting. I wish I was going.
Oh,
I'm trying really hard to not overbook this year.
Yeah.
So far, it's not going great, gotta say. My hiatus from Cos Talk Live since like January. Okay. I'm so glad to be back now. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, glad to have you back. So don't worry about it. If you guys have any more questions, let us know. We're getting down into the last 15 minutes. So one thing I did want to comment about is, say you're at a convention, you're presenting, and you have an emergency. Make sure you know what the emergency procedures are, because I have actually had it twice now where the fire alarm has gone off while I've been presenting a panel. One fire alarm, one active shooter event. The active shooter event, I actually had the director come in the room and ask me to keep the people in there for another 20 minutes. So I did. They locked the doors. They locked us inside. Nobody could get in. And I kept the people calm. They had no idea what was going on. I was told not to tell them because they didn't want mass hysteria. And I just said, hey, by the way, guys, apparently there's a big crowd of things moving through that room. So we got to stay in here for another 20 minutes. They've moved all programming. Don't worry about it. And they did actually end up shifting programming that day so people could catch the things that were missed, because everything got halted. Everything. They ended up, I think, even having to move some of like the celebrity photos to accommodate what had happened. But be prepared for the unexpected. Be prepared for emergencies. If it's a fire alarm, make sure you know where the exits are so you can guide the people out. Make sure you keep them calm. Tell them please one by one. Try to get like the children and their parents out first, and any elderly, so that the rest of the people who can move faster can help them along if that's needed. So I always want to recommend knowing emergency areas.
You would definitely want to consider those first. You would also, as far as like emergencies too, consider like medical emergencies, not like you have to be a trained EMT or anything. But you do want to maybe look up just a few, like how, procedures that are likely, like how to handle a seizure, how to handle an EpiPen, stuff like that. Just so in that scenario, if you're not necessarily like the person that does that for that person, at least you're not like panicking. You like know what's going on, you know what to do just in case, or who to contact. And that.
Yeah, and always have the emergency contacts for the convention in your phone. When you become a panelist, you are sent emergency contacts. If you are not, request them. All the conventions I've gone to when I've been accepted as a panelist, they send me a panelist pamphlet, and it gives me all the information on what badges I get, what times I need to be present, how early I can be in the room, what media is accepted, who of my panelists got approved, and also what to do in an emergency event. So please make sure you check out that pamphlet or packet. Most conventions have a panelist packet, and it's super, super useful.
Cosplay Choco says, I keep thinking I'm taking a break. LOL. Same. Like literally this weekend, I was like, I'm gonna like rest this weekend, and so far all I've done is work weekend. So I mean, there's still Sunday left, but honestly, same. Like my husband actually said something last night that was kind of funny, where he was like, maybe you need like a relaxing hobby away from your hobbies. And he like suggested crochet, but he was like, but just kind of like, you know, because of your personality, like you're probably gonna start doing like crochet competitions and stuff. Like, yeah, that sounds about right. I don't know if taking up another hobby is gonna solve this problem. I think this is like a personality problem.
Dang it.
But no, I feel that. Every weekend that goes by, I'm like, damn it. I still didn't take a break.
So we've gone through like emergencies, setting up documentation, doing submissions. The last thing I will comment on is I recommend if you're doing panels at conventions, do not do more than 4 if it's a 3-day event and no more than 6 if it's a 4-day event. You need to give yourself a break in between. Make sure that all your panels aren't on one day. Make sure you've got food and water and that you have time to really recuperate, because panels can wear you out and people can wear you out.
Well, and I think those are Sam numbers too, honestly.
Maybe 3. I can do 2 panels a day.
I would, yeah, like I, you know, it depends on what you want to do at the con. If your goal is to like, you know, educate the community, then like go for it. Do as many panels as you can handle. But I mean, I would say like, so Cosplay Choco just said if you're competing, I would make that number even less. Because, you know, what do you?
If you're competing, maybe you aren't the owner of the panels. You're just participating in them, so that you don't have to do.
Like, are you running them? Are you a panelist? Are you like, and what else are you doing? Please do not bite off more than you can chew. You want to be able to actually like enjoy the convention as well, regardless of whether you paid for your ticket or not. Like, it's not even like a getting your money's worth thing. It's like a, you know, do you want to have some fun and actually check out Artist Alley and get some merch, and are you competing and you have a prejudging time, and you know there's a lot of factors to consider, you guys. If your sole goal is to be a panelist all weekend, then great. But if you want to actually like enjoy the convention a little bit, you have other things going on, like please do not overcommit yourself, because you'll probably regret it later.
Yeah, you absolutely will regret it later. No, Rob, no, I don't want to listen.
Rob, thank you. I need to listen to myself as well. I feel like I always like bite off more than I can chew, especially at conventions. Because I just want to do like everything with everyone. And then you get there the day of it. Conventions are exhausting, you guys, especially after like this pandemic too, where I think like kind of there's a bit of a social shift that everyone went through a little bit. And it's kind of exhausting to be in big crowds. It's loud and all that good stuff, you know?
Agreed. So we are coming into the last 8 minutes. If you have any questions related to conventions, panel submissions, please ask them now. As far as conventions that I'm planning on going to, and then I know that Ambrose has a list too, as of I'll be going in April to Sakura Con, which is I think the 15th through the 17th, or the 16th through the 18th. I think it's the 15th through the 17th.
I have no idea. I'm sorry. I can't.
No, it's fine. So I'm going to Sakura Con in April. After that, I'll be going to Phoenix Fan Fusion. I may be going to Anime Arizona. I don't know yet, just because it's still really vague and ambiguous as to what they're doing, and that kind of. But I will be doing definitely Fan Fusion. I will be going to Anime Next in what is that, New Jersey? No, Atlantic City Convention Center. Is that Jersey, Philadelphia? Is that I don't know. East Coast? Okay, I already know where to fly into, but I'm going to be taking lots of buses to figure out where I'm going. And then after that, it's going to be like locally. It will be Tucson Comic Con, I think. After that, I do have hacking conventions I'm going to, but you guys don't need to know about those.
Let's see. Cosplay Choco says, I'm sorry, I said that so weird. I'm sorry. All of a sudden I had like a transatlantic accent. I hope have you coordinated meetups? Is it better to self-coordinate them or through the convention? That's a great question. I don't think I've ever personally coordinated a meetup. I've attended them, but
so
I never like started one myself.
I have. I've coordinated meetups. when I'm coordinating meetups, it is a lot harder doing it yourself because you have to get 1 or 2 photographers. You have to make sure the space is available. The wherever you're going to meet up, you need to talk to, like, if it's a public space or a private space, talk to the venue if it's private, see if it's okay. So there's a lot more work that you would have to do that the convention would already have done for you. So I like, if I can, setting it up through the convention, especially since the convention assigns photographers to those meetups. So then you don't have to worry about whether or not someone's going to show up and take photos.
Well, and I think too, like, you don't want to have, like, you know, somebody else has the same idea, you know, you're coordinating your Steven Universe meetup and then somebody else does as well. And then it's like, there's 2 or 3.
When the convention's doing it, they make sure that they don't overlap on the same day.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So I have had that happen where I was like, oh, do you know the same, that are you guys doing here for this meetup? Wait, what? Yeah, it's right. Like, literally, I ran into the Arcana meetup by accident at Taiyu a couple of years ago because they're like, oh yeah, we're doing Arcana today. Is that why you dressed up like this? No, I'm competing, but cool. I've never met any other Arcana cosplayers, so this is awesome. And it was because the convention, I believe, had actually coordinated that. So, like, yeah, it is. I prefer having conventions coordinate meetups just because, again, they assign photographers, they assign a space, they know it's a safe space, they know that it's not overlapping anything, and that, you know, it just kind of makes it a little bit less of a load on you. And a lot of conventions let you submit some, you know, ideas for meetups.
Right. It's definitely like, I feel like most convention, unless there's already one happening, I feel like a convention wouldn't be like, no, stupid. You know, like, they love that when people, you know, plan their events for them. Like, you know, you got your patrons already paid for a pass doing the work. So
yeah, they like that. They like that.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, who wouldn't, right? Chibi agrees that it's easier to do it through the convention, so do it through the convention if at all possible. If the convention says you're on your own, kid, well then go for it.
Yeah, have fun. So what cons are you going to, Ambrose?
Okay, supposedly I'm going to Phoenix Fan Fusion. A friend of mine reminded me that we said we would dress up together for that, so I guess I'm going to Phoenix Fan Fusion. I'll have like a ticket, but I'm barely going to Phoenix Fan Fusion.
Well, I'm gonna have a bunch of panels I'll need help with. So.
Oh well.
I'll send you the list once they send me the list.
Then sure. I am not going to Anime Next. I am hopeful about maybe San Diego Comic-Con this summer. We'll see. Fingers crossed. And then I have tickets for D23. I would love to go to Tucson. That's one of my absolute favorite conventions. It is the weekend before D23, so that makes me very nervous, but I would still love to go. So that's sort of my plan at this moment. As far as like cons, I would love to go to, but like I don't have solid plans. I keep wanting to do New York City Comic-Con, as well as a Holiday Matsuri is one that every time it comes up, I'm like, oh my gosh, it looks like so much fun. I'd love to go to that. Dragon Con, I know we talked about, but I don't have like really solid plans for those. Those are just kind of like, I would love to do them someday.
You're like, that'd be great. Can I do this? Yes. Let's
Right.
do this. So, you know, it's hilarious. Like, I just went to the Phoenix Fan Fusion because I just was like, no one came back and told me like what panels I'm doing. So I just went and clicked on my name, and there's already panels scheduled for me.
What panels are we doing at Phoenix, Sam?
So I already have special effects makeup for beginners, apparently. I guess I'll find out what else I get too. I mean, cool.
All right, cool. Well, I mean, let me know whatever you need help with. I love being a panelist with you. It is an honor, so I would be happy to help out.
We'll find out. I mean, I know they're still working on that programming grid. Like, it is nowhere near complete. So,
some time.
Yeah, they've got time. All right. Well, so we are in the last 2.5 minutes, or 1.5 minutes. 1.5 minutes.
Final questions.
Yeah, final questions, and then where can everyone reach you, Ambrose?
So once again, I am Liz from Ambrose Cosplay. You guys can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Instructables, TikTok under Ambrose_Cosplay.
Oh, Cosplay Choco, I like paneling with you too.
Oh, what a sweetheart. Oh my gosh. And it looks like you've been to Holiday Matsuri or just have heard tell that it's a blast. It always looks like fun. And so like every time it comes up, I feel like I'm like, oh my gosh, like why didn't I?
Next year, I really want to try and go to Katsu, so we'll see.
Where's that?
Capsicum. It's
Yeah.
Maryland.
Oh, okay.
Maryland?
I've like heard of it. I don't know, you guys.
And just go. You can reach me at thermocosplay.com while I keep messing with this wig. I didn't get to do my freezing spray. I ran out of my freezing spray, so the wig's
You
just
look
all over
great.
the place.
It's perfect.
I was like, no. So, and we love you too, Chibi. But yeah, we are going to be presenting again next week. I think the topic next week, let me look and tell you guys what the topic is next week, because I already have it scheduled out. So next week topic is talking about cosplanning, and since conventions are coming back and competitions, so we're going to show you how to work your way through building your costume.
Oh
And
my gosh. I feel like that
we've
is
talked
like
a lot about shopping lately. Now we're going to talk about crafting.
that is the one thing I like excel at is like the planning stage.
And then the following week after that, the first weekend of April, we're going to have RuneSport and Sunfire Cosplay as guests from the Pacific Northwest, and they will be talking about what their cosplay experience is like and what they're going to be doing at SakuraCon this year. So,
okay.
we'll be promoting more of them over the next 2 weeks. But again, if you guys ever have any questions, you can reach us at costalk-live.com, and you can reach us on our Discord. We've got everything shared on our website and everything shared on our Facebook pages. We do stream every Sunday. That's what I was trying to say. Every Sunday to YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. We will see you all next Sunday at 12 p.m. MST. Thank you very much for joining us, and we hope you all have a wonderful day. So thank you, everyone.